All right, for this explainer, we're heading to the International Space Station, all to look into a really fascinating medical puzzle. It's all about one of our oldest enemies, bacteria, and what scientists are starting to find up there. Well, it could flip everything we think we know about them right on its head.
So you'd probably assume that the super harsh environment of space, the radiation, the microgravity, would make microbes tougher, right? More resilient, more dangerous. But what if the exact opposite was true? That's the wild, counterintuitive question that's really at the heart of this whole thing.
And this isn't just some random guess. A previous experiment by the ARC Space Lab at Sheba Medical Center found something totally astonishing. It looked like space conditions actually slowed down a key process that bacteria use to share resistance genes. It was a huge surprise, and it created a genuine scientific mystery.
Okay, so let's dive into this surprising paradox, because it's a real head-scratcher.
The process that seemed to get weaker in space is called bacterial conjugation. The best way to think about it is like bacteria passing survival cheat codes to each other. You know, these little packets of genetic info that help them beat our best antibiotics. But for some reason, up in space, that transfer just wasn't happening as efficiently.
And that's exactly why scientists got so interested. This result went against the grain of what we thought we knew about how microbes adapt. I mean, if space can weaken this critical survival tool, what else is it doing to these tiny organisms? It just begged for a closer look.
This brings us to why this research is so incredibly important in the first place. Those invisible stowaways that travel with every single astronaut, and the very real risks they pose.
Living in space takes a huge toll on the human body. We know this. An astronaut's immune system can get weaker, which makes them more likely to get infections. And at the exact same time, some bacteria seem to grow faster up there and even start acting differently. That's a pretty dangerous combination, especially when you're thinking about missions to Mars that could take years.
And it's not just one thing. It's this whole cocktail of factors working together. You've got the physical stress from microgravity and radiation, you've got the psychological stress of the mission, and all of that can mess with an astronaut's own personal microbiome. You know, the good bacteria that normally help keep us safe.
So to really understand the risk, scientists need to measure a key trait called virulence. You can basically think of it as a bacterium's attack power. The big question is, does space turn the dial up on that attack power, or, as that earlier experiment hinted, could it actually turn it down? And all of this sets the stage perfectly for the main event, a brand new experiment going up to orbit designed specifically to get some answers. So here's the game plan. The experiment is set to launch as part of the Crew 11 mission. Once it's on the ISS, the bacteria will be grown inside a special automated lab. Then they'll be flash frozen to preserve them exactly as they are in space and sent back home for the really deep analysis.
Now, a mission this complicated, you can't do it alone. It's a huge team effort. You've got Israel's Sheba Medical Center and their innovation arm, ARC, leading the science. Then you have NASA and SpaceX handling the launch and mission support. And the tech comes from a U.S. company, SpaceTango, who built the incredible, fully automated lab where this all goes down.
So how does it actually work? Well, the process is really methodical, as it has to be. You launch the bacteria, you grow them in that automated lab, you freeze them to lock in any changes, and then you bring them home to compare them against the ones that stayed on Earth.
And that comparison, that's everything in science. To pull this off, the researchers are running 2 completely identical labs with the exact same bacteria, same equipment, same timing. The only thing that's different is the variable they're testing. One lab is floating in microgravity on the ISS, while its twin is right here on Earth. This control group is what lets them say with certainty that any differences they find are because of the unique conditions of space.
The head of the research lab, Professor Ohad Galmore, put it perfectly. He said, the goal is to systematically and molecularly map how the genetic expression profile changes in space. In other words, they want to create a super detailed map of which genes in the bacteria get turned on or off. That'll give them an incredible insight into what's really happening.
But here's where the story gets even bigger, because the implications of this research go way beyond just keeping astronauts safe. Which brings us to our final section, the applications that go beyond Earth's limits.
I just love this quote from Professor Eyal Zimlichman, the director of ARC. He says, "To understand the limits of medicine, we sometimes need to go beyond the limits of Earth." It's such a powerful idea, right?
that by pushing science into these extreme environments, we can learn really fundamental things about biology that help every single one of us back on the ground.
So the discoveries from this one experiment could have this incredible dual purpose. One for our future out there in the cosmos, and another for our health right here at home.
For space, the results are going to directly help us protect astronauts on those really long missions to the Moon and Mars. But on Earth, man, the potential here is maybe even more profound. By seeing how bacteria change under the unique stresses of space, we might uncover entirely new ways to fight antibiotic resistance, new pathways to target that we never would have seen otherwise.
And that leaves us with this one last incredible thought. By studying life in the most alien environment we can possibly access, we might just find the secrets to solving one of our biggest medical crises. Could the key to defeating superbugs on Earth actually be hiding literally up in the stars? I guess we'll have to wait for those samples to come home to find out.